Good morning, everyone. My name is Christian Wandeler. I'm originally from Switzerland, but now I have the great opportunity to teach at Fresno State in California. And I work with my colleagues Susan Trace and Stephanie and Laurie. Originally, this study was done in Switzerland with my colleagues Yves Schaffer and Franz Beresville. I'd like to acknowledge them at this point in time. They had a little bit further to travel, so they didn't make it this time around. And our question is, how are hope and personality factors related to success in career vocational training? Let me tell a little bit about the Swiss educational system. You might have heard about it. We have what's called the dual educational system, and about 50% of all students are going into a vocational training track after the 9th grade. So obligatory school is similar to the US. We have 6 years of primary school, then we have 3 years of middle school, and then compulsory education is finished. And then youth have a choice between going to a baccalaureate school, which prepares them to go to university, or they choose a vocational training track, which are usually 3 to 4 years long. And what's really important to notice is that they spend 1 to 2 days a week in a vocational training school, and the rest of the week, 3 to 4 days, they are at a company, working there and learning at the company level. So it's not just training on the job, but actually an apprenticeship at the job site. Who in here has heard of the psychological construct of hope? Okay, all right, great. For those who haven't heard, this gentleman here, Rick Snyder, who was at the University of Kansas, he defined hope as a perceived capacity to think of pathways to desired goals and motivate oneself by agency thinking to use those pathways. So why don't we take a minute, think for yourself about a goal that you want to achieve in your life right now. Right? What are different ways to achieve that goal? And what is your motivation to achieve that goal? And what are possible hindrances that could appear? Right? How could you, what could happen that would block you from reaching that goal? Hope will help you reach your goals. And it's a dynamic motivational system. Goal-directed thinking and related construct are self-efficacy. Probably most of you have heard of that. Right? Or a growth mindset, optimism, resiliency, self-regulation are all related constructs. Right? And hope is really the idea that the future will be better than the present and that you have the power to make it so. That's really important. That's what differentiates it from optimism. It's really that belief that I am in charge and I have the power to change something. Hope is a strong predictor of academic success, stronger than IQ, prior grades, SAT scores, and even socioeconomic status. This was a study that was done in the United States. We did studies in Switzerland, and we found similar results. Right, so it's really that the concept of the American dream. If you want it hard enough, you can reach it. At the same time, we have to be mindful about looking at the way systems are set up that work against us. So it's not about blaming the individual, saying, "Hey, you just need to have more hope. You could have reached your goal." The idea is to acknowledge that, but also be mindful of what the systemic difficulties are. So I invite you to, why don't you stand up real quick, and I'd like you to, if you in general in life, if you think that life was about even slope for you, that things happen, but you didn't have it more difficult or easier than others, you'd be around here. If you're like me, that was born in a privileged background and in a privileged country, right? My slope in my life, it was going like this. Right? It was going down. It was easy for me to achieve my successes. Right? So why don't you guys stand up for a second and show each other what do you think? Was your life more a grade like this? Was it difficult in life, or did you have it easy in life? What would you say? Maybe look around the room, see what kind of. All right. So, well, neutral, some more difficult, some more okay. All right. So, hope would it help you if you had a difficult slope? Hope would help you climb that ladder, right? So that's the whole concept behind hope. Thank you for participating. We did a bunch of studies that showed that hope predicts learning outcomes in vocational training. And today I'm going to dig in a little bit deeper, and we're going to look at personality factors in hope. So we looked at the big five, and let me tell you a little bit more. Big five are related to academic achievement, particularly conscientiousness and agreeableness. And hope is also positively related to conscientiousness and extraversion. Agency, the agency component is negatively to neuroticism and positively to extraversion in undergraduates in the UK. So that was just some things that I found prior to our study. Now here the question were, how are personality dimensions related to hope in our sample? How does hope predict the success? And then if we look at personality, what does personality predict of the success? And then if we take the two together, how does hope add to personality factors in predicting success in vocational education? Our participants were 394 trainees from a dual commercial vocational education training in the German-speaking part of Switzerland. So these will be youth that work in banks, insurance companies, maybe government offices, basically office type of jobs where they learn about bookkeeping, economics, balance sheets, that kind of background. We had about 70% female, and this year was with the last group. So they were at the end of that 4-year program. We looked at the success at the end. We used a German version of the Snyder's Adult Hope Scale, and we used the Hexago from Ashton and Lee, a German version, to assess 6 major dimensions of personality. The Hexago is similar to the Big Five, which you might be more familiar with, but what the difference is here, the honesty, humility component is that 6th one that's different. The others are emotionality, which is similar to neuroticism. Then we have extroversion, agreeableness, conscientiousness, and openness to experience. The success was measured by the grades in the company, right, that they get by their trainers in the company, and then grades in school. And these are like the final examinations. So imagine this you could think of as more general education, and this as more specific to the exact content in their vocational training. In Switzerland, grades go from 1 to 6, 6 being the best. 4 is so basically 6 would be an A, 5 would be a B, 4 would be a C, and then below 4 is you basically failed your class. And we see the average in the company they have a 5, and in the mean of the school they have below 5. So in the companies they have an average a little bit above a B, and in companies it's a little bit below a B. That also tells you that Switzerland grading in general is pretty strict. So it's hard to get a 6, to get an A is really hard. So there's the concept of straight A students is very rare. Just as a sign, we did explorative structured equation models, and we used the software M+, and we did this to take into account the nested data. Here just an overview with the correlations, and I want to jump right into the relationship between hope and personality. I'm just going to highlight some results. You see that people that are more hopeful generally tend to be more extroverted. They're a little bit more open to experience, and they're more conscientious. You see here there's no relationship to honesty, there's no relationship to emotionality, and there's no significant relationship to agreeableness. Now, hope is consistent of these pathways and agencies, right? The way you can reach your goals and the motivation, the drive to reach your goals. So we look at these separately. They're related. A lot of times they correlate quite highly, but they're two distinct components of hope. And if you look at these two pathways and agency, we see both of them are related to extroversion. Pathways is related to openness to experience. And then agency, on the other hand, is related to conscientiousness. So this is a good way to kind of increase the validity of our study, because it makes sense that if you're more open to experience, that you are able to think of different pathways of reaching your goal. And if you're more conscientious, you're more persistent. You're more, you have a larger drive to really work at overcoming difficulties and reaching a goal. Then we look at the grade in the company. How is hope related to the grade? We see here the overall construct of hope is not significantly related to grades. This was a really surprising result to me, because generally we always found that hope, just the whole scale, was related to success. So when we broke it apart, we found actually agency is the one that's predicting hope, predicting success in the company, and the pathways is actually negatively related. So if you have high levels in agency, the tendency is that your pathways are actually a negative predictor of hope. This was of success. This was contradictory to what I expected. And if we look at both of these components individually, we see pathways, there's no relationship, and agency is the one that's related to success. So it seems that in vocational training, the drive to succeed is really what is important to predict your success. And then we found a similar pattern for the educational success in schools. So the pathways was not related to the success, but it was that agency component that was strongly related. And again, that relationship that if we knew about your agency, if you had higher pathways, that was actually a negative predictor of your success. Then if you look at personality factors, how do they predict the success in education? Company grade, we see that openness to experience is actually negatively correlated, and then conscientiousness and honesty are factors that are positively related to your grade in the company. And we see the same pattern for conscientiousness and humility for the school grades. However, here, that openness to experience and extroversion, that's flipped. So we still see that there's somewhat of a negative relationship to openness to experience, but not significantly so. And why these are negative, it's also a component because we're controlling for these other factors. So what does hope add in addition to these personality factors? We see that if we add the hope components, pathways, and agency, see that agency is the one that predicts the success factors, right? We knew that from those prior analyses, but yet here, all of a sudden, this extroversion is becoming a negative predictor, right? And for us, this was also indicated about how do people report their own hope, right? So this might be people that are a little bit exaggerated, a little bit more outgoing, and they might be overestimating the levels of hope in relation to real, more objective outcomes. We notice the same pattern for the grade schools. So if you're high in hope, but you're more extroverted, you tend to have a negative grade, lower grade. What really is helpful is to be honest and humble. So what are our conclusions out of this? We learned that agency is the one that seems to really matter within vocational education training, so the drive to succeed. The pathways don't seem to be that relevant. Of the personality factors, the honesty and humility and the conscientiousness are predictors for successes in company and school, while actually openness are negative predictors of company success. This was somewhat strange for us. And we attribute that to the context it was in. It's, like bookkeeping, economics. It's like, well, there is right answers in this field. So that might be something that would be interesting to test it with other fields if that would actually still persist. And what we found helpful is companies look at personality factors to select people. right? We found out that if you include agency, you can actually increase the explained variance by 9% or even by 19%. So as a company, it would be beneficial to understand how hopeful, specifically what's the sense of agency that our candidates have. And if you select them based on that, probably you'd increase the rate of success in your vocational education training. On that note, I'd also like to add that, and this is not part of this study, that's part of what we know already from other studies, vocational training is a huge factor in promoting hope over time. So we did other studies where we looked at different companies, what do they do to promote the growth of the human potential, what do they do to make the hope of people higher, and vocational training is really a great way to boost that hope. And as a final note, I think for the US, I really welcome the whole approach of pushing apprenticeship programs more. I think it's huge and offers another venue for some of our students who might want to start with an apprenticeship program first and then further education down the road and switch tracks. So thank you very much for your attention. I look forward to some questions later on.
Our next guest speaker is Catherine Stratos. Will talk about preliminary outcomes for Korean technical education students in Philadelphia.